let's talk about linear perspective. Linear perspective is a technique used by artists to create the illusion of depth and space. An artist using linear perspective uses the relative size and position of objects to recreate what the eye would see in real life. Huh? Don't worry, I'll show you what I mean in a minute. When using linear perspective, there are three essential components: the horizon line, where the sky and the ground meet; the vanishing point, a point or points on the horizon line where everything goes towards; and orthogonals, those are the lines that go towards the vanishing point. Another thing to keep in mind if you're trying to create convincing perspective in your art: objects that are closer to the viewer are bigger, and objects that are further away are smaller. But wait, why is this even important? In order to answer that, we need to look at some really old art. Back before linear perspective was even a thing, you'll see art that looks a bit funky. The ancient Egyptians didn't concern themselves with drawing from life, they had rules when depicting certain subjects. For example, when they were drawing the figure, they used twist perspective. They combined frontal and profile views of a person. So that's why if you look at the wall paintings, you'll see that some parts of the body are facing front, some are facing to the side. When artists started to depict rooms or buildings in their art, sometimes things got a bit funky. Yes, these paintings were well done, but sometimes things seemed a bit off. Tiles, furniture, etc. just didn't seem right. Okay, guys, calm down, calm down. Whew. And then, in 1415, Filippo Brunelleschi demonstrated drawing buildings using a formula of lines and points. These demonstration panels were later written about by Alberti, a famous architect. He wanted to be able to show buildings in a way that looked realistic. The rules of linear perspective were now written down and embraced by people from around the world. There are many types of linear perspective: 0 point, 1 point, 2 point, 5 point, and more. For this video, we'll be talking about just a few. 1 point perspective is good for depicting railroads, hallways, and the interior of rooms. Objects in 1 point perspective have their face, front side, facing towards us. In this picture, the horizon line, where the ground and the sky meet, is behind the building, so it's hard to see. 1 point perspective has one vanishing point on the horizon line, and all of the elements of the picture go towards the vanishing point. I've drawn the face of the building in red, the horizon line is green, and the vanishing point is where all of those yellow orthogonal lines are coming together. Sometimes the artist will decide to do a different point of view. In this picture, we're standing close to the bridge, almost inside it, so our point of view is a bit lower. But this is still 1 point perspective because the elements of the picture are all coming into 1 point. 2 point perspective is good for depicting objects from a corner. The object's edge is closest to the viewer. Objects in 2 point perspective have their corner towards us. In this picture, the horizon line, where the ground and the sky meet, is easy to see. 2 point perspective has two vanishing points on the horizon line, and all of the elements of the picture go towards the vanishing points. The vanishing points in this picture are actually not in the picture, but if you follow the angles of the house out to the horizon line, you can determine where the vanishing points are. Sometimes the artist will decide to do a different point of view. For this picture, the photographer has us standing in the woods below the house, so our point of view is a bit lower. But this is still two-point perspective because we're viewing the house from a corner and the elements of the picture are going towards two vanishing points. The elements on the left side of the main vertical are using the left vanishing point. The elements to the right side of the main vertical are using the right vanishing point. The vanishing points for this photo are also way outside of the photograph. Atmospheric perspective is when there is no vanishing point on the horizon line. The artist uses color and the size of objects to show depth. Objects that are far away get smaller and lighter in color. This can be seen as far back as the 8th century with Chinese landscape painters. What about 3-point, 4-point, 5-point, or even 6-point perspective? Yes, those exist. 3-point perspective also depicts objects from the corner, but it's dramatic. The object's edge is closest to the viewer. This type of perspective is a bird's eye view or a worm's eye view. 3-point perspective has three vanishing points, two on the horizon, and a third either up high, which is called the zenith, or down low, which is called the nadir. Yep, those exist too. Check them out, they're really cool. M.C. Escher is a well-known artist who experimented with these techniques. This is 4-point perspective, also known as the fisheye view. Let's try it. Today we'll draw a Rubik's Cube in multiple perspectives. The supplies that you need are the comic book printable or an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of paper, pencil with eraser, a ruler, a Sharpie. I find that the ultra-fine point Sharpie works best, and some sort of coloring supplies, markers, colored pencils, crayons, etc. We're going to be creating a comic book that shows 4 different types of perspective. The story is about a kid, you, that travels to a world of Rubik's Cubes, discovers a cube that needs to be solved, and after a brief struggle, solves the puzzle. It has action, adventure, perseverance, and dramatic music. Just kidding, it doesn't have any music in it at all. If you aren't using the printout for this project, divide your paper into 4 sections. You'll do 1 drawing in each section. Let's get started. In box 1, we're going to draw our Rubik's Cube using atmospheric perspective. When drawing in atmospheric perspective, there aren't any vanishing points. Objects just get smaller as they fade into the distance. For our first drawing, we're going to start by creating multiple mountains into the distance as we head towards the land of Rubik's Cubes. We could even put a sun setting way back in the distance. Now you're going to draw your Rubik's Cubes. Those are just going to be squares in this picture. The closest cube is really large and goes outside of our square. The middle cube is smaller. And the furthest one from us is even smaller. Don't forget to divide up the sides of the cube into 9 even sections. One-point perspective is good for showing objects that face us. In box 2, we're going to draw our Rubik's Cube with the front, the face of the Rubik's Cube, towards us. To begin, we're going to use our pencil to draw a horizon line where the ground and the sky meet. If your cube is inside a room, this would be where the floor and the wall meet. One-point perspective has 1 vanishing point. The vanishing point is on the horizon line. Now draw the face or front of your Rubik's Cube. In this case, it's going to be a square. Use the ruler to connect the corners of your shape with the vanishing point to create the top edge of your cube. Right now, it looks like our cube goes on forever, so we need to end it. Use your ruler to create a horizontal line somewhere along the top edge of your cube. Now we're going to create the sections on the front of the cube. You want to do the vertical lines first. Add two vertical lines to divide up the front of the cube. We're going to use the points where these verticals touch the top edge of the cube to create the sections on the top of the cube. Now we're going to finish adding the sections to the front of the cube. We need to create two horizontal lines to finish these sections. To divide up the sections on the top of the cube, use this trick. Create a diagonal from one corner of the cube to the other. Where the rays cross the diagonal, draw a horizontal line. Add a baseboard to the rim and erase any extra lines that you don't need. In box 3, we're going to draw a Rubik's Cube in two-point perspective. Two-point perspective is good for showing objects whose corner is facing us. We're going to draw our Rubik's Cube with one of the edges facing us. To begin, we're going to use our pencil to draw a horizon line. Two-point perspective has two vanishing points. The vanishing points are on the horizon line. Now draw the main vertical or corner of your Rubik's Cube. Use the ruler to connect the top and bottom of your main vertical with the vanishing points to create the left and right sides of your cube. Right now, these sides go on forever, so we need to end them. Use your ruler to create a vertical line somewhere along the pizza slice of your cube and create the side of the cube, the end of the side of the cube. Erase the extra lines you don't need. To create the top of the cube, use the opposite vanishing points to make the orthogonals that crisscross. So you'll draw a line from the leftmost side of your cube to the right vanishing point, and then use your ruler to draw a line from the rightmost part of your cube to the left vanishing point. Adding sections to the front, add two evenly spaced dots on the main vertical. Use those dots to draw lines back to the vanishing points and create sections on the left side and the right side of your cube. To figure out where to create the vertical lines on the sides of the cube, use this trick. Create a diagonal from one corner of a side to another. Where those lines crisscross, draw a vertical. There should be two verticals on each side of the cube to make 9 sections. To divide the sections on the top of the cube, follow the vertical lines up the side of the cube. Use your vanishing points to create sections on the top of your cube. Add baseboard to the rum and erase any extra lines. Box number 4, we're going to be drawing the Rubik's Cube in 3-point perspective. 3-point perspective is good for showing objects whose corner is facing us and adding drama by having a shape that floats in the sky or creating a shape that is far below us. We're adding some visual interest to our artwork. This is the moment we've been waiting for. We finally solved the Rubik's Cube. To begin, we're going to use our pencil to draw a horizon line. I'm placing my horizon line down low in the box. 3-point perspective has 3 vanishing points. 2 vanishing points are on the horizon line, and the 3rd vanishing point is way down low. I'm putting mine at the bottom of the page. Now draw the main vertical or corner of your Rubik's Cube. My Rubik's Cube is going to be floating, so I'm putting my main vertical up high in the box. Now use the ruler to connect the top and bottom of your main vertical with the vanishing points to create the left and right sides of your cube. This doesn't look very cube-like, so we need to end the sides. This is where you will use the 3rd vanishing point. Instead of ending the sides of the cube using a vertical line like we did with 2-point perspective, use your ruler to create a line somewhere along the pizza slice of your drawing to create the end of the side of the cube. Except this time, you'll go from the top of the side to the 3rd vanishing point. This will recreate an angled side for your cube. Erase the extra lines you don't need. To create the bottom of the cube, use the opposite vanishing points to make orthogonals that crisscross. So you'll draw a line from the leftmost side of your cube to the right vanishing point, and then use your ruler to draw a line from the rightmost part of your cube to the left vanishing point. Adding sections on the sides of the cube. Add 2 evenly spaced dots to the main vertical. Use those dots to draw lines back to the vanishing points on your horizon line on both the left side of your cube and the right side of your cube. Add 2 evenly spaced dots on the top edge of the side of your cube. Use a ruler to connect those dots to the vanishing point that is below the horizon line. This will create 9 sections on the side of your cube. Repeat on the other side of the cube. Now we'll create the sections on the bottom of the cube. To divide the sections on the bottom of the cube, use this trick. Follow the vertical lines on the sides of the cube down to the bottom edge of your cube. Use your vanishing points to create sections on the bottom of your cube. Add a baseboard to your room. Add dramatic lines for glow, and erase any extra lines that you don't need. Now it's time to finish our comic. There are three more steps to this. The first is adding words. If you're using the printable, you don't have to worry about text. If you're using a paper of your own, you can write your own story using thought bubbles and callouts. The next step is to outline all of our pencil lines using Sharpie. Using Sharpie, carefully outline all of the pencil lines you want to keep. Use a ruler to make sure your lines are accurate. You've worked so hard to create those precise lines, you don't want to mess them up now. The third step is adding color. Use your favorite art supply to color in your comic. Remember, when you're coloring with atmospheric perspective, things further away, like mountains and smaller Rubik's Cubes, are going to be more faded. You may want to look at a Rubik's Cube for reference if you're worried about getting the colors accurate. Thank you for joining me. I can't wait to see the comic you've created. I hope you've had fun drawing a cube 4 different ways and that you have a new perspective on linear perspective.